What's up to Lion Talk Live? We love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Dang it, that thing again. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, Lions Talk Live morning show edition. We're days into free agency now. We've gone through the official actual start of free agency, and we're starting to get an idea for the plan that has been laid out probably for weeks, if not months, by the Detroit Lions organization, MCDC himself, Brad Holmes, and what can we say from it? What can we as fans or content creators kind of break it down and see what direction the team is actually going to go? I think there's some good. I think there's some bad. And as you can tell from the thumbnail for this one, yes, some fans are in a little bit of a panic. Some fans want to burn people on the stakes, whatever it may be. I think we're going to have to take a little bit of a deep breath and just say, hey, let's analyze all this and see what it is going to tell us. Because I do think there's a move in play by the Detroit Lions that maybe we're all not considering yet. I could be totally wrong. It's speculative on my part, but we'll talk about that during the main topic of the day. Real quick, though, before we get into the 5 headlines now, before we get into the main topic of the day, hey, let's get into a couple other real quick things. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We are 32 subs away from 13,400. If you can help out with that, that surely would be great, and I'd be thankful for it. Also, if you have a half second of time, it doesn't cost a dang dime. Reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last but never least, if you are looking or considering buying property anywhere in the great state of Michigan where I reside, let alone the continental United States, you see my number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Give me a call, shoot me a text. We'll have a quick conversation about what I can do to work for you, save you time, money, make sure you're not being overcharged by your lender, the bank, or anything in between. So if you like saving money, you like good results, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. It can be vacant property, commercial property, or just a new house. So go ahead and you see my number, and I'll leave it up on the screen in the scroller at the bottom of the screen. Also, I know some of you reached out yesterday. Yes, I do run another show now. If you ever wondered about day trading, you can go to Winners and Losers, Stocks in the Housing Market. Typically runs from about 9:30 a.m. until, 11:30 a.m. What you can do is if you have questions, you can put them on there. There's a bunch of us who are actually doing live trading. We put our stuff in there and talk about stuff. We're starting to get to the point, too, where we try to give some educational thoughts. Just understand we are not financial advisors. We're just people trading. I know a few of you guys popped in there and a few others have asked. So there you go. Now you know. All right. With all that said, done, out of the way, let's get this episode rocking, rolling, and going and get into 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines now. Free agency news. Detroit Lions adding another special teams linebacker. SB Nation, Jeremy Risman with this one. There's going to be a lot of things in the 5 headlines now that came out yesterday. I just didn't think there was anything a burning, topic. I figured I'd save it all for the morning, so apologies if some of this you guys already know. Detroit Lions did go out, though, and sign a couple players yesterday. We'll break all those down. First one, a guy was at Indianapolis Colts. He really didn't do a ton for them, but Grant Stewart is someone that, hey, I think he's brought in for a specific reason, the contract. I don't know the full details yet. I couldn't find that anywhere, but he is going to be a special teams person, a depth person. I do think there's a potential that he won't be here once the regular season hits. I could be completely wrong with that, But if you look at the Lions before free agency began, they have 51 guys under contract, and you've already signed a couple other people to the active roster now, and you still got a draft ahead of you. It's not that he can't make it. He is a special teams ace. I get it. He was originally a 7th-round pick, Mr. Irrelevant for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he overlapped, and now with the Lions defensive line coach, Casey Rogers, he's got some connections to the team. He's got some connections to the coaching staff. He does special teams well, but it does also feel like special teams aren't nearly as important as they once were. We all get it with the new kickoff rules. Just the chances of somebody returning a kick have gone down exponentially. So really it comes down to punt and punt duties, coverage, etc. And I'm just not sure if you'll keep a guy just for that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has some upside on depth piece for coverage units or something like that on certain situational downs. I just think that there's potential that he won't be here long term. All right, moving on to the next one. Kevin Zeitler, former Detroit Lions guard now, and I was sad to see this one. Signing with the Tennessee Titans. Source story by Nick Suss of the Nashville Tennessean. Great newspaper, by the way, if you ever get a chance to check it out when you're down that way. They do some real good work. I've known a few people who have worked there. At any rate, it had been speculated for a while that Zeitler is considering retirement. It's also been considering re-signing with the Detroit Lions. Probably a little bit of a move they didn't anticipate, the Detroit Lions organization, or at least most fans. Zeitler was going to go to the Tennessee Titans. I don't know the full story here, but it sounds like the Lions did tender him an offer during the middle of the season. He did not sign, said he was going to talk to his family and consider retirement. Then, about 2 days ago, the Lions made another offer to him. It's from what I've heard, and it's total speculation. Couldn't find it corroborated anywhere. Lions offered him between $7 and $7.5 million for this upcoming season. Tennessee Titans allegedly are going to pay him $9 million to come on over. So I guess it just at the end of the day came down to a numbers game. Lions might have some other things in play here. We'll talk about that further during the main top of the day. I do think this is going to be now an area of need for the Lions, unless there really is something else they've been setting up in some time. Could it be that in the first round of the draft, the Lions sign or draft a guard versus going edge? I guess that's possible. There are some pretty good ones in the upcoming draft. I just still think edge is a top priority. That being said, losing Zeitler has been a massive loss to the team, at least in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments section. Scale of 1 to 10, Zeitler, how big of a loss is this? And probably not going to get covered enough by me and other content creators. Yes, he's 35 years old, but he was arguably a top 3 guard in the NFL. Jonah Jackson ain't coming back. We all know that he's going to the Chicago Bears and off-injured former All-Pro. Zeitler, All-Pro a few times in his career. Not injured a ton during that career, but he is now no longer a Detroit Lion. He is going to be gone, the 13-year vet. Sad to see him go, but I think the Lions might already have an answer in-house. All right. Let's see. Detroit Lions bring back key defensive tackle after breakthrough 2024 season. Clutch points. Story by Scotty White with this one. I will say this, we all speculated. Would Levi Onwuzurike show some loyalty to the Detroit Lions because of them investing so much time, so much effort, so much into his recovery process? And I think the answer is outstandingly yes right now. I also believe if Levi has another strong season, he will probably be resigned to a 2 or 3 year deal for the Lions or some other team. It does sound like multiple other teams tried to make a deal for him, or try to make an offer for him, I should say. But Zeitler turned it down to return to the Detroit Lions. His deal is not massive by any stretch of the imagination. I personally think he could have got more somewhere else. Maybe I am completely misreading the situation, but he's coming back making a $5.5 million contract next year. You think about what Brad Holmes has done with that defensive line and the depth there. Levi Onwuzurike, could he be a starter this year? My guess is he will be until Liam McNeil is fully, capable of returning from his ACL tear. Could he be a defensive edge? I think that's also a possibility. The Lions do prefer bigger edges. Levi fits that bill. We already know Adams is back, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy from the Cardinals who they signed. But the Lions now have some legitimate depth there. And who knows, maybe Broderick Martin does show up this season and do something. But between all those different players, the defensive tackle position seems pretty developed and deep for the Detroit Lions. What are your guys' thoughts on Levi coming back? Because I think he did a solid to the team by taking that kind of salary for a one-year deal, a prove-it deal. But I like this signing. I know some of you won't, some of you will. I really think it was a strong move for the Lions, not just for the defensive tackle position, but I do think Levi potentially plays some edge for us as well. All right. Lions met with multiple Wayne State, Albion College, and Grand Valley State players at Pro Day. A to Z Sports, Mike Payton with this one. This probably isn't a surprise to Lions fans who pay attention to the draft and things of that sort. The Lions have done this as an organization, I want to say, for decades now. I mean, I can kind of remember it back in the 90s. What they do is they put on an impromptu pro day for a lot of local area teams to come on over. The last player that I think really benefited from it, I can't remember his name. He was a cornerback. He was about 6'2", and the dude had wheels. I want to say it was about a decade ago, maybe not quite that long, maybe 7 years ago. But he was from Albion, came on over to the Lions, was picked up by him. Unfortunately, he had an oblique injury that just never seemed to heal. Could never really get back in this and get back to form. Kid was crazy athletic though. Basically, in a nutshell, the Lions are looking for diamonds in the rough. What NFL franchise isn't? And I think they're doing their due diligence. Could it be they find another Trevor Nowaski who comes onto the team? That is possible. By the way, on a side note, could have put it in the 5 headlines. Now I guess I'll just get it here. Nowaski did re-sign with the Lions yesterday, so he's yet another player they're showing loyalty to, keeping him there. Guys that have played for us, they do seem to tend towards re-signing, and that's another person with it. Maybe they find a diamond in the rough at Wayne State, Grand Valley, or wherever it may be. But hey, the Lions are keeping this tradition going, and it's been going on for a long time. All right, Lions free agency news. Detroit to re-sign running back Craig Reynolds. SB Nation story by Jeremy Risman. Here's my question to you guys as fans. Is this an indictment that Sion Vaki isn't the answer for the number 3 running back spot? Is it the Lions just want with John Morton? They want to have 4, maybe 5 running backs on roster come this season. I think that's also a possibility. Whatever it is, I do think the Lions are going to have one of the deeper running back rooms out there. Craig Reynolds, hey, I think anybody who's watched Lions over time can say he is a Lion through and through. The head coaches or the coaching staff all love him. I like him a lot. There's a lot there, but I also start wondering, do you start moving on from some of these guys to go with some of your drafted players like Sion Vaki, or is this an indication Sion Vaki could be moving to a different spot? I don't know, but I thought it was a curious re-signing by the team, again, especially since they already have under contract 3 pretty decent running backs, or no, I guess it would be 4 with Jefferson. So we'll see what shakes out here, but Craig Reynolds, a fan favorite, he is going to be back. And I'm going to give you a bonus headline here. So the final 2025 salary cap adjustment gives Detroit more cap space. Story by Eric Schlitz of MSN.com. We all been talking about what the cap is, what it isn't. So the 2025 cap, we all get it. It is up to basically, we'll just round down and say a $279 million. The Lions have a surplus of 23.5, we'll just say, million from 2024. They could roll over into the 2025 cap. This gives the Lions a new cap limit coming up this season. So what does that all mean? The Lions adjusted salary cap is $303 million. It's actually just about $100,000 less. But yes, the Lions got a whole lot of money to play with this year. It is why I'm a little surprised they haven't made one move for a defensive edge this offseason. I think it's a bigger tell that that's what they're going to probably focus on in the draft. Been wrong before. I also think probably sooner versus later, you're going to see Kirby Joseph get his bag. You're going to probably see a couple of people signed to contract extensions sooner versus later. Lions have a lot of talent on this team. I think you get it. I get it. Everybody else gets it. But the Lions are also going to have to pay some of that talent in order to maintain it. And I think with this new adjusted 2025 cap, you're probably seeing some of it happen pretty soon. All right, with all that done, set out of the way, let's go ahead and get over to the main topic of the day. I'm a little interested to see what you guys have to say about it, because I think there's going to be some interesting things we're going to have to revisit, rethink, based on what's happened so far in free agency. And maybe last year's draft class isn't what we thought it was. Maybe it actually are a bunch of diamonds in the rough. Let's get into it right now. We all get it. When you're running an NFL franchise, it's no different than any other franchise or I guess corporate business. You've got to make calculated moves to stay within costs and try to promote from within. Maybe you've been grooming someone for this spot, that spot, whatever it is. I think as we see free agency evolve over these few days, you're starting to get a feel that maybe the Detroit Lions don't view their situation, their roster, quite the way you and I do. We all wanted the Lions to make a trade for Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Timbuktu, whoever at the defensive edge to get after it. But you know what they haven't done? They haven't done that. We also thought that, man, if the Lions could re-sign Kevin Zeitler, you know what? That offensive line is going to be just fine. But they didn't re-sign him. They did make him an offer. That seems clear. But he did take off. So let's Scooby-Doo this. Let's Scooby-Doo this about the Lions and what we've seen this offseason. One, they have signed a gajillion defensive tackles. They get it. I get it. They don't want anybody running up the middle on that D. And kudos to them. Have your strengths. Go for it. We've talked about for a while, if you control the middle of the field, you know what? You're forcing teams into situations that favor you as the defense. So how do you do that? You control the defensive middle with the tackles. You got the linebackers now. You got 3 pretty good ones and now some depth. We haven't heard anything about Rodrigo. I am hoping to hear that soon. And then, of course, the safety position. We have perhaps the best safety tandem in the NFL. So now it all means on the outside, what are we doing? Well, we brought in DJ Reed to replace Carlton Davis. So now between him, Terrion Arnold, Meek Robertson, and perhaps Enos Rakestraw, that's a pretty solid group. Could it still be improved upon? Absolutely. The edge, Aiden Hutchinson, if he does come back healthy, we're good there. What are we going to do with the other edge? Is Levi going to be the answer? Is Alaquin Muhammad going to be the answer? Or is this an indication that the Detroit Lions are going to make a move on draft day and move on up to get somebody? I think that thing seems more and more likely because as we've talked about, I feel like a gajillion times on this show, you're not going to be able to keep all 7 or 8 draft picks. That means to me, based on what they're shoring up with the linebacker depth position, defensive tackle position, Lions are probably going to move on up and try to get somebody in the draft. This could be something we could speculate on tomorrow's show, maybe more at length, but I think the Lions will make a move, and who it's going to be, I don't know. I think that's a big burning question. Has somebody caught their eye at defensive edge that the Lions and Brad Holmes feel confident they're going to be able to move up from 28 to, 24, 15 or whatever and go and acquire? I think you can take Carter off the board because I do anticipate, and I guess most of you guys do too, that Carter is going to be drafted, probably in the top 4 at the least. So take him off, and you're going to have to guess all across there now who you're going to get. Is it going to be Nick Thornton? Is it going to be Mike Green? I don't know who it's going to be, but I think right now, if you're a betting favorite in Vegas, you're saying the Detroit Lions are going to make a move on draft day to go up and try to acquire said individual. I think you also need to look back, or we all need to look back at last year's draft and say, maybe there's more to that draft than any of the experts who give out grades or even us as fans really realize. Could it be that Zeitler was let go because Giovanni Manu is ready to step in, or Kobe Sorsdale is going to step on in? I don't know if I see Gio as a guard, but maybe. He is, whatever he is, 6'7", 6'8". That's a pretty big guard. But we have seen Dan Skipper, amongst other players for the Detroit Lions, play that position, and they are roughly that height. So could Giovanni Manu step in that spot? I think it's possible. I think we have to look at it and say maybe, Christian Mahogany and Giovanni Manu are going to be the starting guards next year. Because if not, you're going to have to bring somebody in. Is it going to be somebody you're going to bring in as a rookie from the draft? Or is there another free agent out there that we're still looking to acquire? It is totally possible that there is a free agent out there. I don't believe it's going to be Graham Glasgow, but I've been wrong before. What do you guys think about that? Just focus on the offensive line right now. I think most of us, based on the 2 or 3 games that Christian Mahogany was out there and started or played, you'd say, yes, he looks right as rain. He's going to be a starter. Probably on the left side. Could it be that Glasgow or Giovanni Manu start at the right guard? Let me know your thoughts. I would not be upset if they did start him as long as the offensive line coach, Hank Fraley, thought that he was ready to start. Do you want to bring in a rookie? There are going to be some real prized ones out there. Could it be that one of them goes? I don't know. As far as the defensive tackle position, take Broderick Martin off the board because until that guy does something, I don't even really want to talk about it. He's got all the ability in the world. Is it going to be a breakout year 3? Wait and see. But how do you feel about the defensive tackle position for the Lions? With Levi, along with DJ Reader, along with all the other guys they've signed, to me, it seems pretty sound, and you've got a lot of depth. But what are your thoughts? It really feels like the only thing this team absolutely needs on defense, other than maybe a little bit more depth in the secondary, is somebody opposite Aiden Hutchinson to be a pass rusher. Do you think it is the telltale sign, since we haven't gone after anybody in free agency, the Lions really are probably going to target moving up to number 20 or somewhere around there to acquire a rookie who can help this team? I want to hear what you guys have to say today, because I think last year's rookie class, you're going to start seeing more and more of them step in the lineup. And if, Arnold holds water, has a breakthrough sophomore year where he looks even better, I'd say we're all going to agree that's a pretty good pick. Christian Mahogany, does he step in and become a starter? If he does, as a 6th-round pick, that was a steal. Jake Bates, don't even have to mention. I think we all get it as a rookie last year. He did great things. Probably going to continue that next year. Now, some of the other guys, Giovanni Manu or whoever else, Sion Vaki, if they step up and emerge in some way, shape, or form to assist this team, then I think we're going to have to say that probably the Detroit Lions for here and now are going to continue to draft guys that are going to be developed and then by year 2 or 3 impact the team. All right, we do allegedly have a special guest joining us here at 7:30. We'll see if the Sarge, it is his day off, does make it. He said he was going to try to make it today, so if he does, then we'll get him on for the first time in a long time. Otherwise, let's get to you guys in the Duke Crew comment section and see what you guys have to say. I really do hope that Giovanni Manu steps up. He is a massive human being for those who haven't seen him before, and the idea of him run blocking for us, I think that would be awesome. The only downside I do have with it is having a 6'8" or 9 or 10 or whatever guard means Goff has to throw around that guy. And since he is a right-handed quarterback, he's going to face him a little bit more than other guys. But you know what? You can probably Scooby-Doo that as an offensive coordinator and get around that. All right, let's get kicking off. Doug, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. I thought we would sign an edge by now. I think most of us did. Could one of these tackles play edge? That's what I'm guessing, maybe to an extent. I do think, though, in my opinion, Doug, that we're going to see it addressed in the draft. Tori, Levi is back. I'm glad about that, but I do now wonder what will happen to the offensive line with Kevin Zeitler taking off. It's going to be the million-dollar question. You got to keep this strength a strength and not let it deteriorate and become weak. When the offensive line goes down, we all get it. All quarterbacks, not just Jared Goff, start to see diminished results. Same with that running game. Vincent E., good morning, Coach Dan and Duke Crew. Same to you. Five Fingers Freddy, what is up, Duke Crew? Question mark. So far, Holmes is being Holmes. Cheap deals, not one overspending contracts on the books. Seems he is sticking to the draft. Yeah, they're taking care of their own. Say what we want. I get we all want that big news article that we can all jump up and down and feel good about, get the adrenaline going. But we can also say this. During his 4 or 5 seasons here in Detroit, he hasn't done anything really wrong. I mean, it doesn't mean he's been right with every signing or every draft pick, but he's done what nobody else could do for this franchise. He's turned it around and made it relevant, even one of the better ones. So guys do pay attention across the league. The fact that there is so much loyalty from the front office towards the players, something that hasn't been there before. And you can look around other franchises and say, you don't really see it there. They treat it like a business. I think it means you're probably ultimately going to get more out of guys. And at some point, probably get guys willing to take a little bit less because they feel that family environment here. Clark, you know this with our team. They focus on, their own, not bringing in outsiders to push us forward. And, that is not lost on players. The fact that you're not bringing in guys, paying them money, they haven't been here and done that. I have. You're rewarding me. I think that speaks volumes. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Crew. Exclamation point. What a team. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! And good morning to you too, Henry, as always. Moonscar, good morning, Duke Crew, starting lineup, exclamation point, trust in Brad and go along for the ride. 100%, my friend. Good to see you, by the way. The New England Patriots dynasty rarely brought in overpriced free agents outside of Randy Moss. Name one that had a big name before they added him. And I don't hold me to this, Moonscar, but I want to say Randy Moss was brought in for like a 4th-round pick or something like that. It really wasn't that pricey. Frank the Tank, all we got to do is pick up Patrick, wide receiver, get through the draft pick. Brad Holmes will find a superstar in the draft. This team is ready to go. I think you're right. And if I am speculative right, that we are going to get a good pass rush through the draft, a pass rusher through the draft, I'm starting to lean more and more that I think I would go for Mike Green just because of the stuff you can't teach that kid has. The only thing I do worry about is if he's going to elevate because he is kind of doing so well or did so well at the scouting combine. He's got so many things you can't teach. He might be a 15 to late teens draft pick, and it is going to cost a bit to move up like 10 spots. All right, Marcus, good morning. Dan and Duke Crew, back at you. Brad has a plan. Be patient. Yeah, and that's the hard part, isn't it? Everybody wants the now factor, and I get yesterday in the chat, plus a bunch of guys texting me and messaging me. People really want that news now. They want to feel the hope, the satisfaction that, hey, we got this. Maybe it's not a big issue there. But you're probably right, man, Marcus. We're probably all just going to have to take a deep breath and wait and see what the full plan is. All right, Man Bear, good morning, Dano, and to the Duke Crew, back at you. Eddie, what do you got? Greetings, salutations. Why are we so cheap? Come on, Brad. We will just never win the Super Bowl with Holmes refusing to do anything other than his own picks. I get it, man. He's very, very loyal. Here's what I say, being a coach, you can have 20 different types of offenses, 20 different types of defenses, this, that, and in between. It's hard to be the champion. I don't care what the formula is. It's going to be hard in any sport, any level to be the champ. What we can say is he's not putting the franchise in a bad financial bind where there's a ton of dead money or wasted draft picks. Probably more than any other franchise, or I should say GM in Detroit Lions history, he really is following that Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay Packers kind of mold where they just kind of grow their own. They're relevant all the time, and every once in a while you see them spike up and win it. We have seen the Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers win it all. Do they do it as consistently as other teams? Maybe not, but they're not that far off. And at the end of the day, if as a Lions fan, if we won a Super Bowl every 10 years or every 15 years, I think most of us would be pretty happy. I mean, it doesn't mean we wouldn't be greedy and want more. We are human. We are fans. But I think we're the most relevant this franchise has been really since the 50s. Marcus, this free agent class is one of the worst in a decade. Yeah, I would agree with that too. And maybe that's why he's also being very targeted, very calculated with who he brings on board. Detroit D, good morning, Duke Crew. Back at you. Always pleasure to have you on the show. France, I would tend to agree. I applaud Holmes for showing so much loyalty, but he also seems blind to our situation. Could be. Both things are true, 100%. We better go edge with first two picks. Could be that's what we do, man. Or at the very least, I think a lot of us have speculated edge and defensive tackle. I don't know if you'll really have to go defensive tackle, although if the right guy falls, maybe you do. I could see where we go maybe edge first round, offensive guard second round or something. But, I get everybody else. A lot of other channels do tons of mock drafts. I like doing them from time to time. I just don't like doing like 50 of them before the draft. So probably need to do a second one before too much longer, though. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. I think as fans, we need to take a moment. See we do the rest of the way in free agency. See what we do the rest of the way in free agency. And then we could add in the draft, maybe trade up. Yeah, I think trade up is looking very, very possible. Quick greetings, salutations, y'all. Shake my head. We got some defensive tackles all over the team now. We need dudes who can get to the quarterback. That's one thing I would say. If Levi plays the big end, is he going to be great at getting to the quarterback? Probably not, but he will set that edge and really take away the pocket from being collapsed or being able to collapse the pocket, I should say. Maybe they're thinking more blitzing with the linebackers, but again, I think if I'm the defense coordinator, I'm trying, especially with the secondary that we have, I'm trying to get out of blitzing as much as possible. Last year, we all get it. We had a blitz because of different situations. Frank, do you think Brad Holmes is cheap? Dude, there's something wrong, bro. I will name all the Pro Bowlers once again. Sewell, Frank, Gibbs, Laporta, Brown, Williams, Goff, Hudson, McNeil, Campbell, Angelone, Arnold. Yeah, Anzalone and Arnold. Yeah, we do have a lot of good talent. And I think there's potential. I guess he's speaking of the existence of the universe, but I do think there's real potential. If Christian Mahogany looks as good this year as he did those couple of games last year, I know kind of overhyping things, but I think he could be in consideration if he holds up and even gets better. Let's see, Frank Tank, Joseph Branch, these players are not cheap. No, they're all going to get paid. And I do think that's part of the reason why you're not seeing, Brad Holmes throw money around recklessly, signing guys that haven't been here. He's trying to take care of their own. And like you point out, Frank, there's a lot of good players on this team that are young, homegrown. He's going to reward them. Black J.R. Jones, let's go One Pride. I like the way you're thinking. Voltron Force, do the Lions now trade up in the draft? I think so. We have to, right? Maybe. man, it's hard to say how the draft board's going to fall. That's why I don't think you're going to see anybody make a move until draft day. Think about last year. Before we went into the draft, how many of us really thought there's going to be one defensive player or whatever it was? Maybe I'm not 100% right there, but one defensive player off the board in the top 20. That really benefited Detroit. Frank Tank, there is no perfect team in the NFL, and even if you're perfect on paper, doesn't mean you're going to win nothing. You still got to play the game. Yeah, you're spot on with that, Frank. I know there's a lot of fans that see everything Chicago's doing, all the pieces they brought in, but think about the year before, maybe even more than that. Broski can probably speak to it, but you do see a lot of teams who always win the offseason with all the headlines. How's that work for them in the regular season? Not so well. In Chicago, let's remember a year ago, they made a ton of offseason moves, acquiring this guy, getting that guy, trading for this dude. It didn't get them to the playoffs, though. It didn't get them a championship. Let's see, Pat, maybe we signed 2 more guys in agency, but the best of the worst class ever are already gone. That's also probably true. Yeah, they're probably gone and off the board. Jim, free agency got way more money than they are worth unless they signed with Detroit. Yeah, I'd say Brad Holmes was very financially responsible. Damien, Coach, do you think Levi moves to edge? It's possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe in certain situations, though, right? Corey, Brad is fiscally responsible. None better at keeping his picks. Yes, we drafted you, we invested you, we developed you. We're going to benefit from you. So small. Only thing I've been upset so far about is losing Zeitler. Yeah, I really wish we could have kept him. I thought, man, if he could have manned one spot and then Mahogany the other guard spot, along with all the other talent we have on the offensive line, that's a pretty dang good, formidable line. That also being said, maybe it is a sign that they think either Kobe Sorsdale or Giovanni Manu are really ready to step up into that role. And, with all the stuff you can't teach as a coach, at least with Manu, man, if that guy really has been developed, that is going to – you imagine him next to Penei Sewell. Go ahead and try to stop us running on the right side. You got Frank, Manu the mountain, and then Penei the planet out there. Man, have fun with that. And think about how much you could pull with that guard and tackler's rotation there or lineup. Man, you'd be able to run so many different screens, pull plays, traps. Oh, I'm liking it more and more. John, morning to Dan and the world-famous New Crew. And Stephanie, I would agree. I'm waiting until the draft. Want to see what Brad Holmes does? Yeah, I'll go with that, man. 100% there. Hold on, Sarge. On Facebook. All right, so Sarge is saying he didn't get the link. Hold on a second. Let me do this live on air. See if I can get it over to him once again. Sounds like the Sarge is actually going to come on over today, so he is up and at him. Let me I'm pretty sure I sent him the link. Yep, there we go. And I'll send him another one. Sorry about that, guys. All right, just send it to him again. So apparently he is going to get up and join us this morning. All right, Byron, these last couple of days been stressful. Watching every team, get better. Meanwhile, we stayed the same. Lost good players and resigned injured Brad Holmes style of players. 100%. Oh, and good morning, Dan and Duke Crew. Back at you, my friend. Back at you. All right. All right. He is coming on. All right. Aaron, morning, Coach and Duke Crew. What up, though? I'm happy Levi is back. Now, hopefully we can sign some offensive linemen to help Kevin Zeitler left and went ghost. Yes. Is there, I guess I haven't studied the free agent offensive line class well enough. Is there anybody out there that catches your guys' eyes that somebody could add on? What's Kalamazoo? Kalamazoo, man, this is a throwback. Woo! Coach Dan, yes, very funny. For those who don't know, for about 25 years, I ran a basketball program called the Kalamazoo Heat, so somebody clearly knows that. Gun Guy, take your pants off. Hey, I'll leave that to you as always, my friend. Enjoy it. Silver Server, good morning, Coach and everyone, and same to you. Troy, sad to see Zeitler go. Yeah, 100%. And for only $9 million a year, that seems low and surprising. We didn't sign him at that price. The only thing I can think of, Troy, is that from the reports I got that we offered him like $7.5 million a year or whatever, but for whatever reason, he obviously wanted to take the money. And I get it, at 35, this might be his last contract, probably trying to get everything he can to protect his family. I guess it also means the Lions probably have some strong belief that some of the guys in-house are going to be able to step up. Thomas definitely not upset about losing Zeitler. He will be 36 and we have to start the development. Yeah, there you go. panic, laughing out loud. Why? I don't know. That comes down to the individual there, Michael, because as you guys know, if you watch the show, you do have some fans that are panicking, some that, probably just have a raised eyebrow, but hey, we'll get everybody through it. Jim, concerned about the Bears signing so many linemen? They're going to have to get on the same page, though. Let's see, Michael, panic. Why? I feel like we just read that. Pierce, Brandon Sheriff, come on down. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Amy, so glad to be back, Dan. Hey, missed. Hey, Amy, well, welcome on back. It has been a hot minute since we've seen you. Welcome back and glad you got it all figured out. I know you've been struggling with that for months. Mike the Marine Gunny, howdy, Dan, and the Duke crew. Woo! And back at you. Hardy, I'm not panicking. I understand how a winning NFL team is built, and Brad pays what a player deserves and doesn't overpay. So he doesn't panic. Yeah, you're probably spot on with all that. Thomas, I truly believe this might be a season of development with younger guys. I am not holding out much hope for going far in the playoffs with the defensive line currently in place. We'll see what happens. I mean, I got to imagine they have some ideas in play. Rocky, good morning, all. Guess we'll have to wait and see what Brad's plan is and hope it works out this time. Yeah, 100%. I like it. Brian, another one bites the dust. Zeitler here or retire was his words. Chose another team. We couldn't keep him for $9 million. One of the best offensive linemen. Indeed. Keith, good morning and greetings and salutations to the Duke crew! ! Go Lions, Super Bowl bound. Let's hope so, my friend. I like it. Mark, good morning, Roar. You're roaring for you there, Mark. Pat, still do not like what they are not do at what they did at defensive end. Davenport will probably get hurt in training camp. Man, he might slip and fall walking out of his house. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get over it. It's been a long time coming. Let's get to our special guest of the day. You know him, you love him. He is the Sarge, Tony Libretto. Sarge, how are you doing this morning?
What is going on? I'm good. First time I've worn my hat since the playoff game. So if that makes you any indication of how I've been feeling lately, but I thought it's time. So here I am. The dogs took a bit longer to get inside the house. They didn't want to come in. So that's why it took me a few more minutes to get on, but they're here now. So now we're ready to go.
The dogs are roaring and ready. All right, let's talk about it real quick. The Lions obviously have made some moves this offseason. They've signed some free agents. It really seems like they focus on the defensive tackle spot. What does that say to you about what their plan is to do in the draft?
Well, I think they're trying to set themselves up for, later in the first round. There's a possibility he trades up. He likes to do that. But I think you're still looking at maybe adding a guard. And I know edge is on everyone's mind. I get it. But we also, I don't want them to reach for one. I think there's still some room for them to get one. And there's still a lot of edge rushers in free agency that are, maybe not the top tier stars that everyone wants, but there's still a lot of really good edge rushers out there in free agency. So with them stacking the defensive tackle a little bit, re-signing Levi, getting the guy from Arizona, Lopez, I think they're preparing to not have McNeil for a little while too. So that being said, I think they're setting themselves up to I think they're going to focus on the trenches, whether that be the offensive line or defensive line.
So, I've been speculating on it before you got on air that the Lions, this might be a tell that they're going to trade up, because if you look at the roster, they've got a ton of guys under contract, and you're not going to be able to keep all these guys. Same you could say with the draft picks. Do you think the Lions trade up in round 1 or round 2 to acquire somebody? Let's just focus on round 1. How far do you think you can move up? And who would be the player you would go after, Sarge?
Ooh, I'm an edge guy too. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that at all. But I think they can get up into the teens. I think trying to get into the top 10, they'd have to give up way too much. Because obviously it'd be great if they got up there to get Abdul Carter from Penn State, but that's ridiculous talk, right? That's like us thinking we're gonna sign Myles Garrett. I think, if they can get into the mid-teens, maybe 15 to 18, somewhere's in there, they can get, probably the third best edge rusher in the draft. Just because it sounds like And obviously it's still early, but the combine's over. Sounds like there's a lot of, there may be 3 quarterbacks going in the top 15 picks, which I think is crazy. I don't think any of them are as good as the guys that were drafted last year. It sounds like some running backs might even go high. The guy from, Boise State, Genty or whatever his name is. Right. Some wide receivers. It looks like it could be like last year. I think last year it took till like pick 15 before a defensive player was even taken. That's not going to happen this year because Abdul Carter is going to go top 3 probably. But I can't remember the edge rusher I'm thinking of. Shoot. Anyway,
Pierce.
Yeah. I think I liked what I saw with him. But any of those top, if they could get one of the top 3 or 4 edge rushers that are, top rated in the draft, then I think he'd be a starter day one, obviously opposite of Hutch. And that's if obviously we don't do anything more with edge rushers in free agency. But that would be the guy I would trade up to get, or not specifically him, but that'd be the position that I would trade up to get. I wouldn't trade up to get a guard, because there's going to be a really good one even at 28. So I think trading up into the 15 to 18 range, we're going to get a good edge rusher in that, if that's the case.
Before you jumped on, I was speculating, could this be an indication that the fact that they let Kevin Zeitler go, it sounds like there was a difference about, we'll just say $2 million from what the Lions offered to what he got in Tennessee. And I get it, $2 million is $2 million, but he's going to be, I want to say by the time the season starts, 36. So he's not young. But
Right.
Do you think maybe this means they have some belief in a Kobe Sorsdale or Giovanni Manu to step up and take that spot?
Yeah. And I mean, Mahogany was, he came on pretty good at the end of the year, and the coaches were raving about him during the season, and they gave him a chance later in the year. I can't remember if one of the players went down and he came in. I think he even started a game, didn't he? I could be wrong, but
I think 2.
Yeah. And I think he graded out pretty well for those games. So I think our guard replacement could be in-house. If they don't think so, then they'll draft one. But I think they're really looking at Mahogany. Sorsdal, this will be his 3rd year on the team. So, he could be an option. I know he played a lot his 2nd year, not as much this year. I think Mahogany might have climbed over him on the depth chart. But, and then Manu, he, he's a big project, right? But the guy is so freakishly athletic for his size. He's definitely an option too. So I think our offensive line could be set with those 3 players, especially I think Mahogany. I think Mahogany has a real chance to be the starter either at left guard or right guard.
Yeah, I think literally right before he came on, I was speculating. I think Christian Mahogany is going to be one of the starters at guards. Who takes the other side? Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, Mahogany is your left guard. Can you imagine if Giovanni Manu is freakishly athletic, putting him next to Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell? I mean, that right side would be massive in size and a ton of athleticism. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Lions also, because they can roll over some of last year's free cap space into this year, they now have an effective cap space, and I don't remember the exact number. I'd have to look back in the notes, but we'll just say $303 million. They've got a ton of money. Who do you think, in any kind of particular order, who do you think they're going to try to extend first, second, and third this offseason, or maybe going into next season?
Well, I think they need to get a deal done with Joseph pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think he's probably the number one priority as far as the big stars, not one of the more mid-tier players. They just re-signed Barnes, which I think was great. I think he was really playing at a top level before he got hurt. I was surprised they let Jalen Reeves-Maybin go, but you can't keep everybody when you're good, right? So
right.
Joseph would be number one, and I imagine if Aiden Hutchinson, not if, when Aiden Hutchinson comes out and starts getting, early talk about defensive player of the year again, like he did, they probably should just lock him up as soon as they can. Because, and I know obviously now they can kind of dangle the, well, you were hurt all last year, so we're not going to give you $100 million or whatever. But right. I don't think that'll happen. I think he's going to come out just like he did at the beginning of last season. And they're probably going to need to make sure they lock him up for a longer period of time. And then they can focus on, okay, how much do we have left because the problem with us signing so many good young players is if we want to keep them, we got to pay them all. That's one reason I think why they didn't run out there and grab, one of the top free agents available and paid him a whole bunch of money, because we've got our own studs that we got to pay. Branch is going to get a fat contract. Jameer Gibbs, Laporta, like I said, Joseph needs to get paid. He was probably the best safety in the game last year. That's why he made the All-Pro. So, gosh, and then you look at Arnold's probably going to have. I know he was just a rookie last year, so they've still got him for 4 more years. So I'm just saying, you can't keep kicking that salary cap can down the road either. You gotta stay. So look what's happening to San Francisco right now. They're dumping everybody because they can't afford anybody anymore. They're basically in shambles right now, and did they pay Brock Purdy yet? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
So
I don't think they have got him yet.
That dude's got it. That he's gonna be making 40 or 50 million a year. They had to cut everybody else because they know they're gonna have to pay him now to keep him. So I definitely think Joseph will be, and maybe even in preseason or before during camp, he gets that contract. I think he gets the contract before the season starts. So I think he'd be number 1 to answer the original question.
With free agency, the opening salvo has been done. A lot of the bigger names have gone, gotten their contracts. Do you think there's any potential that Brad Holmes looks to still acquire some defensive line help, maybe bring back Zadarius Smith or whoever on a cheaper contract?
Yeah, I do. There's a couple of edge rushers that come to mind. I think Judon is still available. He might want, he's probably still looking for a big contract. That Olojawari, gosh, I always
I know who you're saying.
The guy from the Giants that we talked about trading for at the trade deadline last year. He'd be a great rotational piece, and he's not probably looking for starter money. He wasn't a starter with the Giants, but man, when he played, he wreaked a lot of havoc. Getting Zadarius back, I think, would be great, but just not at what we were paying him. We were paying him starter money and star money, I should say.
Yeah.
He was getting paid as a top edge rusher, and he's probably not that anymore, but he could still, if we could rotate him instead of expecting him to play every down. He's going to be 36, I think 35 at the beginning of the year, something
like that. Yeah.
So, we can't, he's just not the top tier guy he used to be. So bringing him back would be great if it's cap friendly.
So what do you think the line? There are a gajillion wide receivers that have been let go or free agents, I guess you could say, this year. And there's probably, when we get to the 53-man cut down, months and months from now, there's going to be even more. Do you think the Lions look to address wide receiver in the draft? Do you think they're going to re-sign Tim Patrick? Do you think there's somebody else out there that maybe they try to go out and get?
Oh, wow. There's I'd like to see them maybe draft a wide receiver. It seems like they keep trying to plug that third receiver hole with guy, I don't want to say guys with not a lot of tread left on their tires, but over the couple of years, they had Reynolds, which Reynolds was fine. Tim Patrick was fine. And obviously wide receiver 3 isn't really, we've got so many weapons on offense. Wide receiver 3 really doesn't need to catch 50 passes a year, more or less, but it'd be nice to, so that's why I say maybe draft one in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, or no, we don't have a 4th, right? Yeah, we got a comp 3rd, so
we got a comp 4th now too.
Oh, did we? I didn't see that. Okay, good.
Or free agency last year or something like that, from
Okay.
players we lost or something like that.
Oh, okay. So maybe in that 2, 3, 4 range, we take a wide receiver, someone that can step in and doesn't have to be a star or starter right away, but he can be that third. We still got Raymond. He's always a good guy, but he's kind of in the same. He's kind of more of a slot guy, which obviously St. Brown is usually in that position, but. Sorry,
the dogs are getting restless.
Yeah. So I would like to see them draft one. I think they don't need to bring in a veteran for that room now that St. Brown's been around for a while. Jameson is 3 years into his season or his career. Bringing in a veteran to help the wide receiver room isn't necessary. So I think drafting one would be better than going out and signing one, especially since they do have Raymond still.
Okay. Lastly, let's go through this. If you think there's anything left to do, if you're Brad Holmes, before free agency kind of ends in the next week or two, I mean, I guess it's always open, but before we really get into the meat of the draft, what do you think he needs to do to either move this team forward or start setting up for the draft?
Yeah, I think he's already done it by bringing back a lot of his core players. I think, some people question the Davenport move, which I kind of did too. I'm not gonna lie, but I that just tells me that Kelvin Shepherd likes him, or Dan likes him. It's not always about how many sacks is this guy going to get or whatever. I mean, it is for us,
right?
But
as fans, yeah, right.
but maybe it's just that they see something in him, and I think that's why they brought Barnes back and they brought in this Lopez guy. They signed Levi back. Levi had the best season of his career. He was healthy most of the time. That's maybe that. And, I see a lot of people talking about if he probably went to get starter money, and he wasn't going to start with Branch and Joseph back there. So I think he just needs to look for, and I hate saying get more depth pieces because no one wants more depth pieces, but we needed depth last year. We didn't have it. I mean, we had 18 defenders on the IR. Now, obviously, that was probably a freak thing. It made news every week on how many Lions were on the IR throughout the league. So that means it's a freak thing. It's not going to happen every year. So, yeah, I don't think he really needs to do anything on the offensive side for free agency right now, unless he does bring in a wide receiver to, bolster the room and create competition. But I think he needs to keep concentrating on, trying to get some defensive line help. I think our defensive backs are set. I mean, we've got probably 5 corners right now that could probably be starters. Or at least 4 that could probably start for other teams. And I'm counting Rakestraw on that because I expect big things out of him.
Yeah, I'm hoping he makes a jump.
Yeah. And, obviously Robertson was a great slot guy slot corner for us. And Arnold, I know he had his struggles early in the year, but you didn't hear about him struggling in the last part of the year. In the second half of the year, he was not getting nearly as many PIs or holds as he was at the beginning of the year. And I'm sure you guys have probably talked about this before, but Darius Slay was terrible his first year.
He was, man.
And then he became an all-pro. So I feel like that's the projection Arnold is on. And then obviously getting Reed. So I think our DBs are probably the strength of the defense right now. And that's not to take away from obviously Hutch on the defensive line or McNeil, but I think the trenches is what they need to focus on throughout the rest of the free agency before the draft, and then have some fun in the draft. Trade up. I'm going to be there in the first round, or not not in Green Bay, but
Right.
at Ford
Ford
Field. So it'd
Yeah.
be nice if they trade up. They better not trade out of the first round, because then I'm in Detroit for nothing.
Right. He went there for nothing.
I know.
All right,
damn
Sarge. What's that?
I said, damn it.
Right. All right, Sarge, as always, want to thank you for jumping on, being a part of the Do Crew this morning. Hey, go ahead and give yourself a shout out before we all get on out of here.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. You know, my work schedule doesn't really let me come do this much anymore, but you know, I got to have the day off today, so I'm gonna just hang out with the dogs and have some fun. And you know, it's time to start cheering for the Lions again and the Tigers. I'm a big baseball fan, so y'all enjoy watching the Tigers this year. They're gonna kill it.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to close up the show today. Get out here a couple minutes early just so I can get some other stuff ready. If you guys want to come over to the winners and losers stocks in the housing market, you can find it on YouTube. Usually it's two people, kind of looks like a cartoon character, but if you want to watch us trade live, it goes from roughly 9:15 a.m. to roughly 11 a.m. Come on over. Maybe you learn something, maybe have a little fun, if nothing else. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as quick as possible. Take care. Enjoy your day. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hit all the buttons. And we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.